Welcome back to the I Am Passionate podcast. It's your host, Jaren Smith, and I hope you all are doing well. I'm in a stage where I just need to be at least a little bit productive, and I decided, I want to sit and, record an episode right now. Plus, it's going to make me feel a little bit better because, I'm still going through a lot, still a lot on my mind. So I thought of an idea for the podcast because with my other job, softball and baseball's right around the corner. And so I thought it would be a good idea for me to try to get into baseball, like a little bit more so that it could help me, do a better job while I'm, on the clock, so to speak. And so yesterday I was watching, the World Baseball Classic between, Mexico versus the United States. And, I did watch the entire thing, but I kind of want to, preface, my thoughts with a couple things. I do not know baseball very well. Yes, I know the basics of the sport. I know some of the terminology, but in the past, I'll say before the year 2025, I have never really, sat and watched entire baseball games. 2025 made things a little bit different. In 2026, I'm gonna try to, keep up with that, try to watch some baseball. And so I figured what I could do as I try to follow through with baseball is obviously there's two teams I'm gonna have to watch, through spring training and then, once the season, starts and, kind of goes on. And that's gonna be the Cubs and the White Sox. But I'm probably gonna follow the Cubs a little bit more because just going off of what I know from last season, yeah, the Cubs were definitely the better team. And I think if I was to get into baseball, I probably would enjoy. The odds of me turning the channel from a Cubs game might not be as high as if I was to change the channel during a Sox game. And again, I'm not gonna really pick my allegiance. By that I mean like you all know for football, I'm a Ravens fan, but I also root for the Chicago Bears. Ultimately, when it comes to the Cubs and the Sox, I'm just gonna root for like if one of them or in some miracle if both of them are in the postseason, I'm just gonna root for one of them to win. Just to show some Chicago pride. I get it. I'm not from Chicago. But also for those of you wondering, Jared, how are you a Ravens fan? How are you gonna say that about baseball, but you're not gonna say it about the NFL? I still root for the Chicago Bears. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. I was in Chicago, you know, going bar hopping the day they played the Packers and had that crazy comeback. I was there. I witnessed that. Well, I wasn't at the stadium, but anyways, my baseball talk. I feel like what I can do because I had some notes that I had typed into my phone, which I'm kind of use as some takeaways as like kind of how I thought like what I was thinking as I was watching it and how I could use this to help me with like my own job. So you'll probably hear like me attempting to kind of like do some voiceover work, but not exactly. You'll understand what I mean later. So kind of early in the game, Mexico, great play to keep United States off the board in the first two innings. Basically, I want to say in the bottom of the second, United States the bases were loaded, and Mexico they clutched up. They really did. Paul Skeens, which I saw on social media that Kevin Durant was at the game, and he was really impressed with Paul Skeens when he was pitching, and I think maybe one person got a hit, and the thing is, to be honest, it was more like an error. By that I mean the infielder did not cleanly field the ball, and he didn't really have the best pass to the first baseman. Um, but hey, it is what it is. And also, I want to revisit the age-old argument. A lot of people, talk about oh, what's more difficult, hitting like a half court or full court shot. Let's just say, uh, getting a first down or scoring a touchdown in the NFL or hitting a baseball. Yeah, I think I'm gonna trust my chances with the football related, getting a first down, scoring a touchdown, or hitting a full court shot over hitting a baseball. Because, these people are hitting, 90, 100 mile per hour plus, you know, throwing like those kind of pitches. And like your hand eye coordination, as you already know, is gonna have to be insane just to keep like eye on like to keep the eye on like the prize. So like I don't think I'd be able to hit a baseball. I remember a few years ago with my two closest friends from college, we went to the batting cages, and those weren't even anywhere close to like MLB level style of pitching. Like I think the top speed I was going was like 60 miles an hour, and like bro, I could not hit a dang thing. I really couldn't. And like I remember there's a video that one of my friends took. He put it in slow mo, and you saw me just whiff so badly. It's so funny just thinking about it. It really, really is. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna say hitting a baseball is probably like the hardest thing to do in sports, personally. And like the other thing about that is I feel like for what I also do, like outside of this podcast, is I should use strong like adjectives to describe how well someone hits the ball. Like even in like the broadcast last night, um, the announcer or the play-by-play caller basically used the like basically said, Jaren Smith hits this one a mile high to increase his team's early lead. Something like that, I think, would be a good idea for me to try to do on the regular, just to listen to what the announcers are saying, take note, and try to imitate them in my own way. That's what I was gonna do. And I'd say the thing that impressed me most about last night would just be some of the passes that you would see from infielders and outfielders, like to let's just say to try to get somebody out, just insane. Like the top of the fourth, that the second out, that one was crazy. The second out of the fifth inning, I don't remember if it was the top or the bottom. I want to say it was the United States who got the out. So I think I'm referring to United States, the Team USA getting outs, on Mexico, batters from last night. And I will admit, I was not anticipating for Team Mexico to, make it, let's just say, as intense as they did, because they were in a good position to take the lead. But Team United States, just clutched up, kind of, getting some, good plays in the outfield, getting those quick, outs just to put the game on ice. Had that double play to finish off the eighth, which I think that was kind of fitting because I think it was the third and fourth inning where Team USA um had like basically they got like all their runs in like one inning, I believe. And then for a while Team Mexico just like they clutched up. Like I get it. Um and yeah, and then just it was kind of fitting for just whoever won that game yet last night, in this instance Team USA, to just make a crazy good play to clinch the win. And so yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts on last week's game. I know the Cubs play at 3, which I'll try to tune into it as much as I can. I do have to work tonight, so if anything, I can probably at least attempt to listen to it. And then, just kind of go from there. And other things that, I will try to make this goal. I do want to experience one baseball game because I know for the longest I always would say like, "Hey, I want to go to a football game in every stadium." I'm gonna make the goal a little bit more, we'll say, attainable for like me as a 24-year-old. I want to experience, a baseball game. I want to experience a hockey game. Obviously, I want to experience more NFL games. I need to experience another NBA game. I want to experience basically the tops like the American sports. If I could do that all in the span of 1 year, that would be awesome. But if not, that's totally okay. I get it. So that I think I'm gonna try to make that goal for myself to experience a baseball game, a hockey game, um, in which I'm gonna add one more thing to it. That NBA game could also be like if it's I'll add a we'll say 1A 1B to this, either an NBA game or a WNBA game. Does not matter which. Ideally both. But if I can't experience both, so be it. So that I'll make as a goal for, the year, to experience all of those at least once. I'd love to go multiple times. Earlier this year, and even a couple times last year, I went past, the Cubs Stadium, which yeah, I never been, to like, Wrigley Field before, but being that close to it was kind of cool. So yeah, I would love to be able to experience that. And also, I guess to kind of wrap up, my thoughts, um, I know that NFL free agency, yes, I'm going to switch to NFL for a few minutes. A lot of crazy moves have happened, which I think later this week I'm going to make another episode, talking about all the free agency moves in NFL, kind of grading the moves for each team, just, kind of letting them unfold. I didn't really make any predictions on like the free agents as to where they would go. So I think instead I'll do like NFL offseason episode one, episode two, three, then you're gonna have the draft. I'll do that. And also with basketball last night, Shea Gilgeous Alexander, he hit a crazy shot last night against the Nuggets, and that man is just balling. I think yeah, I get some of the discourse about him with him being a free throw merchant, air quotes. But I still think even without the free throw line, I think that man is still a hooper. I think he is still a baller. In the story. But I will close off the episode talking about baseball, and that is I didn't really know the World Baseball Classic was a thing, but this is also coming from somebody who is very new to baseball. I think it's pretty cool. And another, I guess I'll say, fun fact about some of the games last night that had happened was that I believe, yeah, Team USA beats Mexico in the World Baseball Classic for the first time since 2006. Um, I'm not really all that surprised because, like, I know that baseball is a very global game, and I know that like, so I want to say in the past week, one of the times I was at the gym, I was like on the treadmill. I remember, watching. I want to say it was the Dominican Republic against the Netherlands, which the Dominican Republic, I think they won like 12-1. Um, and like I remember during that broadcast, they showed all of the MLB players on like each team representing each country. And so, yeah, no, like I know I don't know baseball players like that. I could probably only name, let's just say, 10 active players, and even saying 10 might be a stretch. But I was a little surprised to see, like, to learn that about Team USA, that they haven't beaten like Mexico in 20 years. But at the same time, this is coming from somebody with a very naive perspective. Um, and by that I mean I would not be surprised if I was to do a deep dive into Team Mexico's roster and to find out that they could have, let's just say if there's 15 people on the team, they could have some of the top players in baseball on their team, and I'd have no idea. So the goal of my baseball coverage is just going to be to go from, let's just say, a newbie to, let's just say, knowledgeable. And we'll kind of see as, baseball goes on. We'll see kind of how the episode flows because this has been a very short episode, but I think that's fitting that it was a shorter episode just because I think as a newbie, I can't really, not I can't, I should not really make longer episodes for baseball just because I'm not as knowledgeable about the topic. But leave me some comments down below on, your baseball experience, your baseball thoughts, any suggestions for me to how to get into baseball a little bit more. I do read the comments as I get them, and I appreciate, all of you for listening to this episode. It's your host, Jaren Smith, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.